And welcome to the news update with Bryan and Chris for January 8th, 2009. My name is Bryan. That's Chris.
Let's do the news. I just threw that in there.
Okay.
You like that?
What, pray tell, is new in the news? Chris?
All right, Bryan, our top story on the news docket. I don't know what to make of this one, so I'm going to be interested to see what you have to say.
I have a lot to say, by the way.
I think you might. The one laptop per child is downsizing half its staff and is cutting sugar development.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like the whole thing was that Sugar UI that was supposed to be really usable for kids, and they were supposed to really get into the whole kid using a computer thing on this cool little laptop that has like little antenna green alien ears.
Right.
And now they're taking away the Sugar part because they even ported the Sugar over to XP because people were demanding, the XO laptops to run XP, which seems ridiculous to me because that thing is just not powerful enough to run XP.
It is not.
Anyway, not like XP is some crazy powerful thing. Anyway,
yeah.
But what I'm saying here is it's kind of crazy that they're downsizing the technical side of thing and getting rid of the Sugar. But
I know.
I mean, the part that caught me off guard is that they're also talking about really focusing on that dual screen laptop design.
I don't believe that's ever going to happen.
Are you looking into that?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you guys haven't seen that yet, do a little Google.com search, which is a great search engine you can use to find things.
I'll link to it in the notes, and it includes a picture in the news story.
But basically, it's a dual screen laptop where you lay it down, and there's no keyboard, and there's just like a virtual keyboard on the bottom of the touch screen. It's kind of a neat idea. And it looks really, really slick, but, who knows? And if they're downsizing their engineering staff, how are they going to pull off this feat?
They're down to 32 people now. It's never going to happen. I believe this is it.
This is the end.
This is their dying now. I mean, okay, so let's talk about it. So
well, maybe it'll pick up. I mean, have they released any results?
They never hit the $100 laptop promise. They never made it to $100. They haven't been able.
They made it to $150, basically.
And you know what's crazy? The problem wasn't. People weren't buying it. The problem is too many people bought it and they couldn't manage it. Like, what? It's sold. Entire populations of countries want this. What? Like, that's what you built it for.
So horrible. But no, it's true. It is very true. I mean, though they have been advertising it a lot. You know what I mean? They've done there's TV commercials now, and there's those billboards and everything. I mean, and the Amazon.com thing with them where they brought back the whole buy one, give one thing with the XO laptops. But has that done well?
I think we're going to see them. It's going to become solely a Windows XP laptop.
What's the point of that?
XP laptop.
It's just an underpowered netbook at that point.
The whole thing was it's open source. The students can reverse engineer it. They can learn. Apple offered them OS 10 for free. They said no, we want Linux only.
Right. They even made a whole big thing about the code running on the wireless chipset being open source. Remember that? That was a whole big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And now,
well, that just doesn't make any sense. Because I mean, if you're going to get a netbook, you're going to get a different netbook.
And they're discontinuing the Sugar UI development, and they're cutting their staff by 50%. This is just not good. It's not good.
I mean, I never really was a huge Sugar guy, but just the same, that's what really made it stand out.
But we were told it was designed for people that had never seen a computer ever.
Right. And anyway, it's a bummer. I'm hoping something good comes from it. I think what happened,
it was that one laptop per child was just too late. I mean, it came at the time of the Classmate PC, and it came at the time of netbooks, and while netbooks aren't as cheap as $175,
they're not far off.
Yeah, and they're fully functional computers, and so I don't know.
That's a rough one.
I mean, there's definitely some good, unique R&D, like the mesh networking and things like that, but
yeah, we never really saw it all come to fruition. Like, it never really hit.
Right.
All right.
Well. So along
Life
the
goes
lines
on.
Of a mini computer, HP. We've talked about the HP Mini Note, the HP Mini 1000.
Yep.
So the Linux
Great
version, we really liked it. The Linux version is going to be shipping. Here's something really weird, though. The Linux version ships with a completely custom UI and no way to access the command line.
Yep. For those of you who have seen HP's TouchSmart line of desktops, the UI looks a lot like the TouchSmart design. It's a totally custom UI that they built, but not touch. And it looks great. But yeah, they turn off the command line. So I really think
this is what I thought was interesting. So it's going to be selling for $330. Ars Technica contacted them and said, "Hey, why are you turning off the Linux UI?" Right? Here's what they wrote back. They said that the HP Mini 1000 is designed for consumers who want to do more the main activities for their computer, such as email, browsing, internet, and chatting, without worrying about the operating system or what's inside. HP focused on the user experience and developed the HP Mini 1000 for the mass consumer market that wants a complete internet experience and not just a Linux computer.
That kind of makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Well, you can have all of that and then have a special command key to get to the terminal, like the EEE did with its stock Xandros OS.
That's true. That's true.
Totally.
Like, you know what? But there's no indication though that they didn't provide that, because I mean we don't know yet that there's
disabled.
not.
It says command line is disabled.
What do you mean disabled?
I don't know. But it says that on their product page.
But I mean, as far as they know, that could just be that there's no easy way to get to a command line. There's no shortcut. There's no little thing to jump to it.
It's kind of it's kind
maybe
of a
that's
big
it.
deal though if you're putting on the product page that the command line is disabled and then you contact the PR department and they say the command line is disabled. I mean, to me it sounds like it's really disabled. And
I don't know.
What's the point? Because anybody that cares, right? They could blow it away and still install Ubuntu or Fedora, sure. But what if you really want that easy, slim down HP interface for a netbook?
But here's the thing: if you've got that easy, slim down interface and it's built on top of Ubuntu, right? So you can just go grab a deb with the shell in it, throw on Bash, and then boom, you can launch a shell. You're fine.
I didn't know it was built on top of Ubuntu.
It's built on top of Ubuntu, I believe.
Okay.
I know at the least it's built on top of Debian.
Well,
so
okay, but still,
just go grab a
why
deb.
not
You're
give
done.
me the command line just so I can have it? I mean,
it
does not take away from
agree.
when Bob Sixpack goes and he buys something from his worst buy store and he walks out of it and takes it home and uses it to read his email. In no way does it impact him that he could hold down Control, Shift, tilde, escape, and get the command line.
What do you got against Bob Sixpack? I mean, this sounds really derogatory towards Mr. Bob Sixpack here. And Bob Sixpack is pretty cool, I think. Like, we could hang out. Hell, I'd vote for that guy for president.
Yeah, if you could have a beer with him, right?
I can have a beer with him.
All right.
So I think it is kind of weird, but honestly, it makes me happy because I like the idea that they're putting a custom UI on top of Linux, on top of a netbook, because then it makes it more like an appliance, like TiVo, right?
What's the
You
matter
don't get
if it's a
pissed
Linux
off because TiVo doesn't have a command line. You just like it because it's TiVo, despite the fact that it runs Linux.
Right. Sure, I'll give you that. But at that point, really, TiVo could be running on Windows CE, and it wouldn't make a difference. I mean, if you have no way to access the Linuxiness of the Linux, who cares if it's running Linux? So what if it ships one more Linux kernel out there?
I care.
But why? What's the difference?
Well, I don't know, but I feel like you're harshing on me now. All of a sudden, I feel like there's a thing between us now. What's this?
I'm just saying, man.
What's this?
I'm just saying.
What's this thing?
There's no need for there to be Linux on there because you can't get to it. Okay, all right.
Well, because I don't know. They're not selling it as this is a Linux laptop. They're selling it as this is their internet experience laptop.
Right. And
it
to
just
do that,
happens
they're
to run
using
Linux, and we are making a big deal about it running Linux, not them.
I know. Well, here's the thing, though, is I feel like if you load it up with Linux, you put Ubuntu or whatever on there, you load up like a real kind of generic Compiz, and you really pimp it out, you could sell a Linux desktop on its merit, but instead they're like hiding the fact that it's Linux. Oh no, that's just some dirty command line operating system. Look at our nice UI we put on here. It's like
but that's not this device. That's other devices.
Right. All right.
That's a different.
Let's move on. Debian 5, which, about 1 trillion distributions are based off, is Debian. Debian 5 is releasing its version 5 soon. And here's what's kind of interesting. Debian, who, you think about Debian, you think of like a really kind of generally totally free operating system, right?
Right, of course.
Free in the sense of licensing, because a lot of times people will say, okay, the code might be open, but the licenses are restricted. They prevent the way you can use it.
Yeah.
So the Debian folks, the board has voted to go ahead and ship Debian 5 with certain binary blobs pre-included inside the Debian distribution.
Yes, they have.
So that's kind of interesting. I don't know. I think
I have no qualm with that whatsoever.
I don't either, right? Because if it's like if that's
what they're deciding to do it, it's for a good reason.
If that's the software I need to be able to utilize the multi-$100 software I have or piece of hardware I have in any particular component of my computer, I'm totally okay with that.
So be it. I will find a way to survive.
I feel like fighting binary blobs is an artificial controversy.
Here's the thing. Whether or not I have a binary blob in my operating system, either way, I still step out the front door in the morning, hold up my finger, and a little bird lands on it.
Right.
And we have a little conversation. And the bird loves me, despite whether I use that binary blob or not.
The bird doesn't know. That's a great
Bird
point.
doesn't know.
That's a
the
great
little
point.
talking happy bird from the Disney movie doesn't give a crap whether I use a binary blob or not.
Yeah, good point. All right,
That is my morality gauge, by the way.
I'll link to the story if people want to read up more on that, but as far as I can tell, it's not a big deal. All right, so now this is a big deal. It's breaking news as we record this episode, which we're doing on Thursday. Palm has announced the Palm Pre that ships with the Web OS at CES today.
Web OS. It's not even like an acronym. They literally created something called Web Operating System, which I believe there's actually been Web Operating System projects as a name before, which is ridiculous.
Welcome to 1996, Palm. That is so
Dude,
cute.
That is the worst name I've heard for an operating system ever. You know what? Just ever.
I know.
Ever. They're all better. Every worst operating system name is better than this.
Palm OS 6 would be better than this. You know?
There was a Palm OS 6.
Okay, 7.
It was
Palm
a
OS 7
separate call it 7 or X.
Or
call it Palm OS X.
Palm 7. Yeah.
That'd be great.
So
but it looks cool. It actually looks
really
pretty
cool
neat.
Looking. Here, let me rattle off.
It's just a name that's bad.
Currently, it is a Sprint exclusive, which is a U.S. Cell provider.
But there are rumblings that'll be available elsewhere.
It has EVDO Reve, which is Sprint's 3G, which is a good 3G network.
Right. That'll do the job.
It has 802.11bng, has built-in GPS, has Bluetooth, has 8 gigabytes of built-in storage, has a 3.1-inch screen with a 320 by 480 resolution, has a 3-megapixel camera, has an accelerometer, a light sensor, and a proximity sensor, has a micro USB connector for charging, a headphone jack, which the G1 does not, and of course, the big feature is it's a touchscreen but has a slide-out QWERTY keyboard.
There we go. Basically, you just described a device that's designed a little better than an iPhone, plus it has a keyboard.
Now,
and that is awesome.
In
terms of hardware.
It has not been officially confirmed by Palm Incorporated, but reps on the floor of CES said that WebOS is based on Linux.
That's the word on the street. But we'll find out more when people finally get their hands on it.
I bet it's true. It says that they've heard that it's based. They say it's based on Linux and that it uses WebKit for its browser, and that the Linux UI that it's using is completely skinnable for their different mobile providers. So Verizon could have a total skin, Sprint, and you know what? For whatever reason, the cell providers love that. As a support guy, I'm like, so it's the same hardware, but it's a different way to do something. I don't really love it, but I know like Verizon loves to have their Verizon theme, and Sprint likes to have.
It's all about
Sprint
branding,
theme. Yeah, exactly.
But it looks good. So, but they did the shots of it, and the UI looks good, and it looks cool and everything. And I really, the initial impression was that it's pretty great.
Yeah.
The only downside that I'm seeing is, they're allowing third-party application development, but it looks like it's just with basically you're creating web pages as applications like the early iPhone was, which is kind of.
People did it, but you saw it really exploded when you got native apps.
Right. Native apps is kind of what you need. So. Then again, it is Web OS. So maybe their thinking is that it's just like a communication tool.
How do you do a web-based app that can call to GPS, that can call to the accelerometer? How do you do that?
Well, you can do that. Because if they have their own custom version of WebKit, then you can make it so it's exposed via JavaScript, and you could do that. But
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it'd be very elegant.
It doesn't. It doesn't seem like the right way to go to me. But you know what? Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe they'll come up with some great apps, and the speed hit won't really be that great, and it'll still work really well.
Yeah.
We know it does multitasking, so unlike the iPhone, you can actually run 2 applications at the same time. Almost like it was made in the last 30 years. That's kind of neat how computers can do that.
People on the CES floor say that it's probably still under a lot of development because there's a few times where like you go to flick something and it lags across the screen. So Palm
like an iPhone does currently, right?
Palm has said expect to have it ready in the first half of 2009. People on the floor of CES are probably thinking around June.
So just to be clear, Palm came out with a phone, and it's the first rev of a phone with a brand new system that is it's like basically like taking an iPhone, adding a slide-out keyboard, making it so it does multitasking, and heck, if they have cut and paste in there, they've pretty much had what the iPhone will have in about 3 or 4 years.
Well, we haven't seen one yet.
This is pretty exciting.
We've only seen the guy up on stage with one, so we don't know. it may never even ship. Like what was the last Palm device they just canceled at the last minute?
That's true. That's true.
So
I would really like to see Palm come back from the
too.
brink. I mean, because they've been
Yeah.
in that destructo mode where they've been almost dead for like ever. Basically, since back when they bought B Incorporated, they bought the BIOS and all like that, and everyone freaked out. They're like, oh my gosh, because the BIOS was so good at multimedia and everything, and everyone was like, oh, this is it. They're gonna put that in a handheld, and then we're gonna hold that to my ear, and I'm gonna freak out. Right. And everyone was excited, and then nothing ever happened, and then they just died, and they got.
I mean, this is great that WebOS could be based on Linux, but how cool would it have been too to have just see BIOS have a little bit of life left in it?
That would have been cool.
In the actual official BIOS.
So, but I mean, that was a chance. So I would like to see them come back again because at one point they were pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
So it's pretty cool news. It's still obviously a developing story, so we'll update people as we hear more.
We're gonna keep track of it. But it sounds like, I mean, honestly, between that and Android, I mean, there was a point about a year ago when we were talking about like the Open Moco phone as being kind of I mean, there have been phones based on Linux. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people didn't really identify it and say Linux as a phone until really the Open Moco came along. And then after that, the Android. And now we've got WebOS. If that really is based on Linux, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be Apple over here.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's going to be over here, and they're going to have their, one that doesn't have copy and paste or act like a computer made after the 1970s, and the other is going to be running Windows. And then there's going to be all these Linux phones doing so many different things, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like Linux's new place to be.
Along the lines of cool Linux devices, did you see that Nokia canceled the N810 WiMAX edition? I know, right? Were you surprised by that? Because you're a big N810 fan.
Oh God! All right, so for those of you who have not been following, so the Nokia. Now my hair's all tussied up. What am I doing? I just don't look. Oh, I go like that and I look nerdier. Oh, that's no good. So so the Nokia tablets are phenomenal. I mean, I've went on and on about these little suckers plenty of times in the past. Shushling, awesome. So they're great, and they came out with basically this guy right here, the N810 with WiMAX built in, which is a great idea. So if you're out and around on town, the fact that this thing's got full Flash 9 built freaking in. So you can run crazy stuff on here that you couldn't do anywhere else. You can even do like web streaming stuff. It's fantastic. They canceled it. They killed it off. Sad. The problem with that is this one is currently the only one available, and it's a year and a half old now.
I know.
It's a little long in the tooth.
They're going to stop selling if they don't update
the next Maimo. Now it's built on top of the Maimo OS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the next one called Fremantle is in like alpha stages right now. It's stabilizing, but it's not out of alpha yet. It's not into the full on, or maybe it is just out of alpha. I don't want to get that wrong. It might be just into beta, but it's not final yet. Which means until that's final, there's going to be no new device from Nokia.
And that could be a while. That might be
It could be a while. The timeline for the Fremantle, the Maimo 5 platform or whatever it is sometime this year probably.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be at least a couple of months before we see anything stable, which is kind of sad. Now, the plus side is, when that does come, we're going to see 3D hardware acceleration and all sorts of crazy stuff and a brand new UI. And I mean, the looks of it is phenomenal. I mean, it just blows the barn doors off of any of the devices out there, but we don't have it yet.
Right.
So now we just got the one, and Brian wants more toys, is what I'm saying. So guys at Nokia, if you happen to have any like prototypes lying around that I could play with for like a month to make me happy, I'm okay with that.
Hey, we should mention that we have a couple of promo codes through GoDaddy that anybody can use to save them some money.
Hold on. I've got a little spiel about it here.
Go for it.
Check this shit out.
All right.
I mean stuff.
Stuff, right.
Beep. Starting at just $3.99 per month, Linux shared hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to GoDaddy Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications sure to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. Plus, as a viewer of this news update, enter code LINUX, that's LINUX, because it's nerdy. And when you check out and save an additional 10% on any order, some restrictions apply. See site for details. Get your PC internet now at GoDaddy.com.
Thank you, GoDaddy. You know what's cool when people use those codes is they really directly help us out. Because I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, and a lot of them have different codes that you can use. There's a lot of internet shows. There's a lot of places that have codes. But when you use those codes, you directly help out us. It's like there's
us, and we're really good guys.
We're the
you
Ma
like
and Pop of podcasting. Only
Yeah.
I'm not. He's the Ma. I'm not. I'd be the Pa.
So, yeah, I guess that just about wraps it up. There's a lot. You know what I'm actually excited about? So CES has been this week, right?
Yeah.
And there's been all sorts of stuff. Microsoft has announcements. Apple's got their announcements, and they're all like, "Oh, look at us, everybody! We still have an Apple," and all these other things. And there's for being the winter, there's a ton of news going on right now. It's actually kind of an exciting time to be really, really nerdy, as if we had money left.
I wanted to ask people, I'm going to be setting up, if people are familiar with the Amazon EC2, it's like the cloud services in the sky where you can get a server that you only pay for your usage. Well, I have to set one up for a client. It's probably going to be a Windows box, though. But if people are interested, I could do like a little story on basically my impressions and how to use that. If people want to see maybe an in-depth look at the Amazon EC2 service, shoot us an email or leave us a comment in this. So leave us a comment on youtube.com/Jupiter Broadcasting for this video or at jupiterbroadcasting.com. But hey, Brian, what we should mention is we turned on video comments at jupiterbroadcasting.com. At the bottom of the comments, if you click on the story, at the bottom where you put in your comments, there's a little link there that says leave a video comment right above a big Seismic logo. And if you click that leave a video comment, it fires up Flash. All you have to have is Flash and a webcam. And if you're on Flash 10 and Linux, your webcam pretty much will work. You record a quick video response, you put it in there, and it sticks into the thread. And if it's a good video response, we'll put it in a future video.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's way cool.
So that's
what that's called? It's called the future.
Yeah. Yep.
It's here.
All right, Brian. Well, I think that just about wraps up this news update.
It sure does.
All right, everybody. Until next episode, check out jupiterbroadcasting.com where you can find feeds for these episodes. And, of course, there's always the forum, right, Brian?
There is at jupiterbroadcasting.com /4.
See you later, everybody.